Hello. This video is going to give you an overview of some of the grammar in Athanadze, chapter 1 alpha. So, all of our chapters are split up into two sections. There'll be an alpha and a beta. This chapter is meant to just give you kind of an overview of how Greek works. And one of the things you'll have to do is look at some of the kind of more in-depth grammar videos that are in the module if you need some more info on some of these things. But this is just going to follow along with the textbook, and then you can use those other videos if you need them. So the first thing is going to be verbs. So those of you who are familiar with Latin know that verbs have person, number, tense, mood, and voice. So for person, we're talking about first, second, or third. And then number, just singular or plural. So if we want to put some more in-depth information on number over here, first singular in English is I, plural is we. Second singular, you. The plural is also you. You can also say y'all. Like me, if you're from Philly, you'll say yous guys, however you want to differentiate the two. And then the third singular, he, she, it. And third plural, they. For right now, that's all you're going to need to know about verbs. We're always, for the moment, going to stay in the present tense. There are other tenses that you'll learn as we go, but present is the only one we'll talk about, so it just conveys the time when something is happening. Mood, we're going to learn the indicative, so just kind of like factual statements. And then we're also going to learn the imperative, so commands. Again, there are other moods, but we don't need to think about them right now. Voice, for right now, we just need to know the active. So all three of these have other forms, but we'll learn them later. So right now for verbs, you just need to know if it's first, second, or third person, singular and plural. And then we're always going to be dealing with the present tense and the active voice. So the thing with Greek that maybe you figured out from your nouns, if you've watched some of those videos already, is that we're going to change the end of a word. So in English, we'll say, let's see, we can switch up some colors. In English, I would say he. Let's use some of your Greek vocab. So he lives in a house. And in English, I need to put, right, third person singular. He lives in a house. Right, I have to put my pronouns separate. In Greek, I'm just going to write oike, and this EI is what tells me that it's third singular. And that ending will change depending. So we change the end of our word instead of adding on a separate pronoun. Okay, so if you're looking on page 4 of your book gives you just the third person singular. That's all we're concerned about right now for our verbs. It's the third singular, present, active, indicative, right? Present just means it shows something that's happening now. Active means that the subject of your verb is conducting the action. Then indicative just means it's sort of like a factual statement. So that ending is going to be epsilon iota. And your book is going to give you a few different sample verbs. So you'll see luo, lue, he, she, or it loosens. And then the other example, and we'll write that here, he, she, it, Loosens, you could also say is loosening for the present. Either work in English. The other example they give you is fillet. If you look at the difference between the two, you'll see lue, your accent's here. We'll talk more about accents later. Filet, it's there. It's a little circumflex. That's what that kind of horseshoe accent is called. So these verbs have two different ways that their stems will kind of squash together with the endings. And we'll talk more about that later. For right now, just worry about that epsilon iota. So he, she, it loves or is loving. And then the verb to be, which is always irregular, so it tends not to follow patterns, we'll just memorize it, is estin. When you have the new in parentheses like that, it means that if the next word starts with a consonant, you don't need to add a new. But if the next word starts with a vowel, you'll put that new in there so you don't have lots of vowel sounds running together. And our verb to be is just he, she, it is. All right, so the next thing we want to talk about in 1 alpha are nouns. And you should have watched those noun videos. So nouns, like verbs, we're going to change the end. And nouns all have gender. So you should have learned masculine, feminine, or neuter. They all have number, right? So are they singular or plural? And they all have case. And in Greek, our cases are going to be nominative. So something is the subject. Genitive. This case usually shows possession. It's like the equivalent of apostrophe S in English. Nominative, genitive, dative. That's going to be your indirect object. Or sometimes you use the dative with prepositions. Accusative, that's your direct object, so the person who receives the action. And then vocative, which is if you're directly addressing a person. So those are the cases in Greek. If you've already studied Latin, you'll notice there's no ablative. So the ablative kind of gets distributed between the genitive and the dative. So that's one less case to worry about, which is great. And in your first chapter of your book, you're going to learn just the kind of basic nominative and accusative endings for the second declension masculine. So let's add a page here. So your second declension, remember declensions are just kind of like noun families that will help you determine which pattern of endings to add. So your second declension, oh, we don't need this S on there. Your second declension in the nominative is going to add an S or a sigma, right? So you have Clay Ross. That's your nominative. And your accusative singular is going to add on. So Omicron knew. So the example they give you still will work with Clay Ross. Clay on. That's your ending. So if you look at your sentence, ha Clay Ross on page 4, estin mikros, and I'll write that here, ha Clay Ross este, right? We don't need a new because mikros starts with a consonant. You're going to notice that this is your subject ending, this is the nominative. And this adjective is going to match in gender, number, and case, right? So this is nominative, singular, masculine. This is nominative, singular, masculine. because they have to agree with one another, right? So you could say, like, what is Micros describing? What is small? The field. So they're going to have the same gender, number, and case. Now, if we want to look at our accusative example, we have ha, anthropos. Oop. Check my spelling there. I need a omega. Anthropos. George. Ton. Clairon. And we're going to talk about these little words here, the ha and the ton, in a second. But if you'll notice, are ending here. So the farmer farms the field. The field receives the action. So this is going to be your accusative. It's your direct object. And this is going to be your nominative. It's your subject. And this is our verb ending, right? Our third singular verb ending. Nominative singular, accusative singular. All right, the last thing that we need to go over for 1 alpha are articles. So in English, we have articles. The, boy, a, girl are articles. If you are coming to Greek from Latin, the interesting thing about Latin is that there are no articles. You have to supply them for yourselves. In Greek, we have words that are going to agree in gender, number, and case with their noun, and they are going to be your articles. So here, let's change color. Ha means the or a. This is just your masculine, nominative, singular article. Articles can be really, really useful in Greek. They help kind of structure your sentence. They give you lots of good clues when you're reading and will help you if you forget an ending for your noun, but you have the articles down. They'll help you also to figure out what a noun might be doing. So ton is going to be our masculine accusative singular, the farm. And we'll learn more about articles in a little bit.